The romance between Miyuki and Kaguya is central to the story of Kaguya Wants to be confessed to. But what if I told you that it may have been planned by Papa Shirogane from the very beginning? One of the oldest fan theories in the series is that Papa Shirogane's company was destroyed by the Shinomiyas, and this was recently confirmed in chapter 248. Although this was done by the eldest son, Oko, and not by Ganen like most people had thought. So as a form of revenge, Papa Shirogane calculated for Miyuki to steal Kaguya from the Shinomiya family by marriage, and possibly even by pregnancy. So what evidence do we have to support this? We know from chapter 121 that Miyuki didn't actually apply to go to Shuching Academy. Papa Shirogane entered the application without him knowing. But the Shuching application process wasn't just based on academics, it was also a lottery. So how did Papa know that Miyuki would get in? It's possible that the principal had something to do with Miyuki's acceptance. We learned in chapter 239 that the principal wants to save Kaguya from the Shinomiya family, so maybe Papa Shirogane collaborated with him to put Miyuki in Shuching. Even though he is poor now, Papa once ran a very successful pharmaceutical company and probably still has some degree of influence. I think at some point it will be revealed that Papa and the principal were friends in the past. The former president invited Miyuki to join the student council because he said that he wanted a commoner in the group. We don't really know much about the former president, but if the principal was invested in Miyuki, he may have influenced the former president to recruit him. Now the moment Miyuki fell in love with Kaguya, did Papa Shirogane also calculate that? Did he push the poor girl into the pond? Probably not. This one most likely happened by chance. But both of the Shirogane children had a natural attraction towards Kaguya, so Papa probably did know that Miyuki would eventually develop feelings for her. So when did Papa know that Miyuki was in love with Kaguya? He probably knew way before the first chapter. Miyuki writes all his thoughts and feelings on motivational notes on the wall, so Papa probably knew from the start. In chapter 83, he offered Miyuki some advice about romance, and he has taught his son the importance of how to treat women since he was young. In chapter 86, during the sports festival, Papa pretends to not know who Kaguya is and approached her to tease her and to measure her interest in Miyuki. In chapter 111, Papa roleplayed as Kaguya's father-in-law to condition her into becoming a part of the Shirogane family, and he encouraged her to marry Miyuki despite being minors. Then he pushed for his son to confess at the end of the chapter. In chapter 162, Papa offered Kaguya to go visit their house, and when she did in chapter 208, he asked her to spend the night, further conditioning her to become a part of his family. In chapter 170, after Papa and Kei spied on Miyuki flirting with Kaguya on the phone, he revealed that not only did he know that they were dating, he also knew the significance of being in a relationship with a Shinomiya. In chapter 191, Papa became a YouTuber, making it more difficult for the Shinomiya group to cut off his source of income, as opposed to if he just had a regular job. We know that the Shinomiyas are very traditional from the way Kaguya was raised and don't concern themselves with things like smartphones or online culture. The scene where Papa talked about starting a YouTube channel in chapter 191 was actually a flashback. It happened a few months ago. The present-day part of the chapter was set around February, and we know this because the next few chapters were the Valentine chapters. So when did Papa decide to become a streamer? I would say October. Sports festivals in Japan usually take place mid-October, and it was during the sports festival that Papa realized Kaguya also liked his son back. We've already established that Papa knows that there would be retribution from Kaguya's family about this relationship, so becoming a YouTuber was Papa's way of defending himself financially. Papa then moves into a bigger apartment to give Miyuki and Kaguya some privacy to have some sexy time. And he lets Miyuki choose the apartment, knowing that his son would pick a location that is close to Kaguya's. When Kaguya spent the night in their new apartment, Papa went out of his way to give them some privacy. Now he doesn't know if they use protection or not, he's never brought it up. From Papa Shirogane's point of view, if Kaguya were to get pregnant, then it's his victory. The Shinomiyas can no longer use her as a tool for marriage or politics, and Miyuki gets to share her inheritance. So what will Papa Shirogane do next? We already know that he's sharing his own experiences with the Shinomiyas on YouTube, so he is slowly chipping away at their reputation. Papa Shirogane is very good at making connections. In chapter 219, while Miyuki and Kaguya spent the night together, Papa was hanging out with other streamers. So maybe Papa Shirogane will use internet culture to cancel the Shinomiya Corporation. During the sports festival, he also became friends with Papa Fujiwara, a prominent politician. So Papa will probably coordinate attacks on the Shinomiya family both culturally and politically. The economic battle between the Shinomiya and Shijo groups has been ongoing for decades, and Papa most likely kept an eye on it as well. Maybe he had also been working with the Shijo group behind the scenes. When the news of the Shinomiya Empire broke out in chapter 240, Papa was as cool as a cucumber, almost as if everything was according to plan. In chapter 241, Papa revealed that he is well acquainted with the Hayasakas. Papa Shirogane and Mama Hayasaka met all the way back in chapter 111. So it is very likely that she's kept Papa in the loop about what's going on with Kaguya and the Shinomiyas all this time. Papa also bragged about how well connected he is with the other parents. This may be a hint that Papa has been forming a coalition of Shuching parents against the Shinomiya group. Maybe part of the reason he sent Miyuki to Shuching was so that he can make powerful allies. Kaguya Wants to be Confessed To is a story about love and war. But the participants of this war aren't who we thought they were. Papa had his marriage ruined because of the Shinomiya group, and he wants revenge. But he will not achieve his vengeance with cruelty or brutality. The Shinomiya way of life is to use and to betray. But unlike the Shinomiyas, Papa Shirogane truly cares about making friends and helping others. This is why Papa Shirogane's revenge will not come by the way of malice and hatred, but by the way of friendship and love.